Okay, I'm Jedediah Smith, Franklin County Patriots, and I have a question, I guess, for either of you who are in favor of the convention. You know, anyone here would be in agreement that there's potential for problems, and you, Mr. Roll, acknowledge that you know, Congress is not obeying the laws that there is now. So my question is, if we had the convention and everything went perfectly well, we came out with a great document that specified clearly what were and what were not, you know, the role of Congress and the Senate. What assurance at all do we have that they're going to obey those laws any more than they do now?
Thank you.
Thanks, Jedediah. No one has any assurance. Our founders didn't have any assurance. This is a point that I made the other night. The nature of government is to overreach, and our framers recognized that. What they tried to do was create a structure that would give the people the most opportunity to keep government within its bounds. Now, what we have seen is that even the best designed document that we have yet seen doesn't provide a guarantee. But what we can do is go back and try through peaceful, reasoned judgment, the sort of thing that Alexander was asking us the question, can we actually do this peacefully and reasonably instead of resorting to a revolution, and work within those confines to reestablish some limits on government. I think that we can do that because I think that if the people have called together a convention and they ratify certain changes, renewing limits on government, I think that at least for a period of time, that will be respected. The question is what happens when we get past the honeymoon. And then Representative Curtin read the Second Amendment earlier, and I think that that's something to keep in mind.
And just practically speaking, if we're concerned about this, which we should have concerns, we should also worry every single day, and all of you should be worried every single day, that every single state legislature in this country gavels in. Because these gentlemen here will attest that, you know, right now we're in a good position. We have 106 Republicans in the House and 26 Republicans in the Senate. And so the majority is in control. They're not just Republicans. We've probably elected more conservatives than ever before in the history of the state. But if the Democrats were running the agenda, and these gentlemen here can attest to this, because we fight it every day. It doesn't get in the press. Nobody knows about it. And Kerry can attest to it. The amendments that get dropped and the bills that get dropped by the liberal left wing of the Democratic Party are more frightening than anything I read in Article 5. Yep. And if the shoe was on the other foot and they were in charge, it'd be devastating. And so what do? You elect every 2 years the men and the women that you think best represent your interests, and every 4 years your senators that best represent your interests. And you know, I think Joe Ortworth told me that the reason he was battling this back in the 70s and 80s, that was at a time similar to this. We just came out of the Carter era, horrible economic times. We had horrible foreign policy crises, and the brilliance of Reagan was not yet known. He'd just gotten in, he just started, and people probably were talking about this back then because of the very precipice that we were on back then. We're on that precipice now. And I'm a disciple of Reagan. I believe America's best days are ahead of it, and so what you do is you keep electing the right people. But just this very week, on certain bills, we had amendments that the Democratic Party, the left wing of the Democratic Party, tried to bring up on the floor. But because of the vigilance of the men in this room and the men and the women in the House and the Senate, and the procedures that we have, because we're in the majority, we get to run things right now, we're able to prevent that stuff from even happening. But we have to constantly be vigilant, because they're constantly dropping stuff at any moment, and we never know when it's coming. We have to constantly, we have teams of people that their job is to look for this stuff. And even though they're in the minority of the minority, trust me, they never stop trying. But that's our democracy. It's a fragile thing. It's a dangerous thing to even have a democracy instead of a dictatorship or a despot in charge with ultimate absolute control. But that's why we have to be vigilant and keep moving on. So that's why I say, if not this tool, then we need to find something, because the federal government just continues to run down this bad rail. We've got some great states. And maybe if the 33 states that call for this were all Missouri and Montana and Wyoming and Idaho, we'd all feel a lot better. You know, if New York and California couldn't be permitted to join or whatever. If I could give you the 30, if we could say, okay, we're going to pick the 33 states, and we're going to make sure that there's a conservative Republican majority in control of every state that's going to do the delegation. That's why I think Representative Kurtman brought up a good point. Maybe this is something we need to craft more deeply. And before we just charge ahead, that's why I'm saying, you know, we're going to pull back this year and we're going to rethink this. But you bring up a very good point. You know, if we're going to do this, let's build the manual, the instruction book, before we move forward. But I think the answer to the question again is keep electing the right people, keep being vigilant. Everyone's woken up in the last few years, you know, and we're all engaged.
Okay, thank you, Tim. I think we need to go on to the next one because I want to get to the audience. So Ron Calzone, will you come up, please?
Yes, ma'am. I'm Ron Calzone, and I'm with Missouri First. Our motto